All right.
Sucks that you got caught.
You get caught. We were in the open, Joe. I'm not gonna talk about it.
I wasn't called.
You were part of it,
Well, thanks.
all right?
Thought I was part of this council. That's what I voted to be. I didn't vote to be a Republican or Democrat. I voted to be a councilman for the city.
Is the meeting called to order?
Yeah, I called this meeting
Call
order,
the order
all
on
right?
Monday?
All right, this, proposed resolution number 3, an audit into the appropriation of spending in regards to all paving, including streets, sidewalk, parking lots for the 20 years.
Wait, hang on a second. I thought this meeting was regarding the towing legislation.
Well, we're going through the-
This is a committee meeting for that. Don't we go through the other stuff at the 6 o'clock meeting?
Yep.
This is a committee meeting for towing.
Well, this is part of the committee of the whole meeting, too. I wanna go through these real quick.
Well, I mean, if we read
If you would
the,
like to start with the towing portion, I have no problem with that.
yeah, I mean, the towing portion's gonna take the whole hour.
Okay.
And so, as long as we're bringing it up, as we left here the other day, I thought we had a very productive meeting and gave you a compliment. I thought everything was good. I thought we were coming back at 5 o'clock tonight to just to close it and discuss the fees. Are we still on that? Or did stuff change since we've left?
If I may have the floor, I never got to really touch on my thoughts with last week too. Whatever we do, if there is a rush, I don't know why, and I just want to be sensitive to it, but I'm not really for or against anything. But I was talking with some of the tow truck drivers, I don't understand why we would end up capping the insurance.
Having what?
I don't understand why we would end up capping the insurance. I see like that the contract existed, and it sounds like it shouldn't have compared to what's actually on the ordinance. So it sounds like whatever solutions are happening, I don't understand based off of it, whatever was passed 2021, was it?
20.
There's a couple of things I would change to that, I guess, but I don't know if I would, I'm not,
Well,
I don't see the point in actually adding the cap to the insurance.
So don't you see the reason this all came up is we're getting bills, the city is getting bills, or insurance companies are getting bills for $3,000-4,000. Now, do I think, listen, I'm not no fan of any insurance company. Should we cap it at a certain amount? I think these are the people who need to make the livelihood. I'd rather raise their rate a good amount and put a cap on it, keep it one simple thing so it can be tracked. What do we care about insurance companies for? Okay? I mean, I care about the guys sitting in back of us here who are out there every day doing their work. The insurance company, regardless, is going to bone. I mean, we've all had run-ins with insurance companies. So to make a statement in that legislation that says unlimited, you're just putting yourself.
So I used to be, I was thinking that way too with it, but then the more I kept hearing all the different kinds of accidents and all the different ways that there are to charge people if there's a catastrophe, it's not like a one size fits all.
Well, if that's the case, then what are we capping for these guys for then? They got to pick the same stuff.
I don't know why.
Okay? I mean, they don't have a problem with it. Okay?
I don't see.
So, I mean, we talked the other day with your committee leader, and we came up with a price, I thought, which we were going to come that was $300, cap it for everybody. I think these guys, I think they would jump through hoops for that.
But then it's $300 for people who don't have insurance too, right?
That's for everybody.
That's the part that I think is.
Shouldn't be on the street without insurance.
Thank you. I get that. There's all sorts of.
Go ahead, Bob.
I think the reason this legislation came to us is because there was a contract that was put in place that bypassed the rotation.
I don't believe that is true, but I don't believe that has anything to do with that.
I think that's why, and I could be wrong.
So if I could just provide some points of clarification.
Please.
So, as far as the administration's perspective, if you want to set a number of rates for a number of different things, as long as it is set and it applies to everyone, we do not have an objection to that. If you want to say motorcycle towing is this is that, this is what you do when you're stuck in snow, whatever you want to do and you set it and it's reasonable, We're not gonna object to that, as long as it's set and there's no discretion to charge this or that, because whoever is evaluating that and making sure, as the chief has in his responsibilities, to make sure people are not being overcharged and following the rules of the ordinance, when there's discretion given, he cannot make those determinations because it's discretionary as to what they can charge. That's why we want something set. I don't have a problem with the rates that you choose, or how many different rates that you set, as long as they are reasonable and they are set. I don't have an issue with that. Regarding the actual tow rotation list, what everyone needs to understand is the tow rotation list basically operates as a contract. Even though the parties don't sign anything, it operates as a contract that we have as the city with these towing operators. They're volunteering to be on this list, or otherwise volunteering to enter into a contract with us and abide by everything that we have in the ordinance. There's a number of things. What if they disagree that we don't want to have this amount of storage, or we don't have this storage? They can't get on the list, period. So there's certain requirements, as we do with our contracts and when we issue RFPs, certain things you either have to meet and certain things you have to agree to abide by in order to be a part of this. I would look at the tow rotation list as a contract versus, and which is why I said this, the ordinance itself only applies to the tow rotation list. We're not trying to set the rates for everyone else. So if these towing operators want to do whatever they want on their own time and on towing that is not related to city business, we are not going to object to that.
Of course.
It's any tows that they do pursuant to City of Utica calls, and anything under this ordinance is what we are concerned with. So they're gonna be able to operate as they would, and as they would like to, on all these other calls, with the exception of the City of Utica calls, which they need to abide by what's in the ordinance or our contract.
Well, you're just saying that they can do their own business on their business time?
So, yeah, so
Duh. I don't mean duh, but I'm just like, oh, I don't
but that's
understand
what
what if
I'm
I'm
trying to
missing
say.
something.
We're not trying to set the rates for everything. So if they wanna
Right.
charge $600 for a tow for other tows, and we say you're only gonna charge $300 for city calls for city tows, that's what we're saying you have to do. If they don't wanna agree to that, don't be on the rotation list. It's, I'll use this example. I work, and do, assigned counsel work, in the law. So when the public defender's office can't handle the volume of cases, or they have a conflict, they look out to another list of people who are on a list that can take assigned counsel cases. When I signed up to be on that list, I knew that I would be taking a reduced rate. I'm paying the rate that they want to pay me. I don't sign anything, but I get put on this list, knowing that the rate is X amount. But in my private practice, I charge something different. So what I'm saying is, it's the exact same thing. When you agree to be on a list, they can set what the rate is. And if you don't want to be on that list, because the rates are so, don't be on the list.
How does it work with, has anybody made the analogy with ambulances and healthcare and the insurances that they get to set?
We are not making that analogy here.
I
It's a
know you're
totally
not, but
different
I don't
analogy
understand
because
why.
We are not contracting with them to
Okay.
be on this list. That's the difference. You need to look
I
at
just
this.
don't see how they make their money with just $300 flat fees.
I'm not
That's
saying
where
that, I'm not
at.
saying that that needs to be the,
Right.
I'm saying as
You
long as
just
you
said.
put a reasonable rate in, comparable, that's how it is.
Do we have actual like documents that we could see of like the past year of all of the ones that have been issued? Like every time that there's a tow,
So-
do we get that data of the
What?
costs? The receipts, I guess, the invoices. They don't come
No.
back to the city? We don't have that data?
No, because it's all paid by the
Right.
recipient. The only time that we get receipts is when they're calling and saying, why is this? Why is this so high? The ordinance says this, the ordinance says that.
Right,
or-
I've seen a couple of those ones, but I guess it would just have helped to have seen more of the rotation, like see what the actual order of events are. How many tows are people getting? What are the actual call volumes? And I guess a lot of that's private, but thankfully I've been able to talk with a lot of different tow truck drivers and
If you're
see
asking for
their
the actual
experiences.
volume of the tows and how many calls go out, I'm sure the chief can provide the actual number, but as far as the
Mhm.
dollar
The actual
amount that they're
dollars,
being charged,
the ranges.
I don't know that he's necessarily gonna have that exact number.
That's how I don't know as a council person, just to pick $300 when I'm hearing from other people that that's not actually probably the best then.
Well, I'll ask you this, if all of these tow companies in their private, I'm gonna call it private practice, charge between 300 and 600, you know that the reasonable amount is somewhere in between there.
Right.
That's how you come up with these figures.
I get that, but then there's also the catastrophe,
The fees are built in to handle the catastrophe.
So,
Catastrophe.
Jack, do I have the floor again?
Well, when she's done.
No, I'm
Oh,
all set.
She
Sorry,
just
thank
said
you,
she
Joe.
was done.
you
So,
done?
can I ask a question? This is, the tow rotate, these people have body shops, okay? It's kinda like she just said. That's a bonus to their business. I don't think they make a living off the tow rotation. Okay? So that's a bonus. So for you to say they're not getting this amount, it's exactly her analogy is perfect. They probably, I mean, I wouldn't say half of your business is from tow rotation, is it? Am I wrong?
100%.
Yours, okay, how about,
He's just a tower.
Okay.
I own a different.
okay, so.
Body shop and mechanical and tower.
Right, okay, so my point is, you're looking at it like,
So there's two of us that are 100%.
okay, but it's not even that, but the bulk of their business, Monday through Friday, if somebody calls you and it's not an accident and calls them, they charge whatever they want. When you get on a tow rotation, it's bonus to them, okay? It's bonus, you're agreeing to do that, this is the rate that you're agreeing to do it. Kinda like, her analogy was excellent. I mean, she's her own lawyer, but she signs to work for the DA's office. The DA don't pay her what she gets on her own. This is kind of where we are. So, and that will be your choice. Right.
I'm late to the game, but it just sounds like, so if the rates are in question, just increase the rates to what.
That's what
an
we were
agreeable
doing.
rate.
That's what we're trying to do.
I'm trying to get a consensus on it, that's all I'm trying
Right,
to do.
That's my, I mean, instead of
Right,
having
trying to work out a
no
consensus,
cash,
yeah.
just raise the rate.
Well, okay.
They have to make a living, we get it.
All right.
We had that plan
All
at
right,
one
Sam,
time.
hang on a second.
And
Go ahead, Mark.
something else.
So my question is to the tow trucks, you know, the businesses, you know, how many mechanics have gone into business and gone out of business because they charge crazy rates and everything else and not quality work? Thousands of, a lot of them, right? They start a business, after 3 or 4 months, they're done. It's the same concept. You know, the tow truck companies that are gouging the citizens, they should be held accountable.
They need to be penalized.
And that's where the chief of police and everybody else gets involved and, you know, all the appeal process and throw them out the list.
Because we didn't have the police involved.
We're here because we had a few bad apples that were allowed on this list because there was no oversight over it. And they were charging $10,000 a tow. I gave it to Chief Williams. I'm the one who showed him. I said, this is gonna happen, and it did happen. And we're here today because of that.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
I've been 40 years in this business, and I'm retiring, I'm getting out of it, I've had enough, okay?
No, I get
In
it.
the city of Utica, I do everything, body shop, I do everything. I have 7 licenses, and this is, I'm past it. I got a fencing, I meet every criteria the city of Utica asked me to meet.
Yep.
And this is nonsense. I had an accident, Mr. Burmaster and Mr. Williamson come to my shop. We've had
Williams,
conversation.
not me, right?
No,
Williams.
Williams, all right.
All right, Frank, you had a
I
question?
think a lot of it got taken out because there was no authority anymore. When Chief Williams was removed,
we
no
know.
one had oversight. No one could do anything about it because no one was running it.
Well, what they're saying is Chief Williams was never removed, he was only removed from the arbitration.
But they did remove him once they signed the contract as well.
So,
But-
you know, how do you present it to the police department that people are complaining about price gouging and all that? They don't have the authority to do it now. So how do you fix it?
We're trying
You get a
to,
rate schedule, you get the chief or his designee back involved to make sure that this doesn't happen and the guys that are doing it are canned.
all right, Frank, you got a question?
Yeah, I think it's a very simple solution here. Come up with a price that they think's fair. Do the price, put the police chief back in charge and put him back in their rotation. It doesn't take a scientist to figure this out.
All right, so,
What, she wants a rate,
all right.
let's get a fair rate for
Let's-
everybody.
Can I get a show of hands that, they would vote for a one rate for insurance as well as private tow?
If it's a fair rate,
First of all, you
Well,
can't
I
take
gotta
them
see
all.
what we got.
You can't
If it's
take
a
them
fair
all,
rate,
make
then
an
vote.
amendment and the amendment goes. Or
Well,
something.
I gotta see where we are, that's why we do a pre-committee.
Yeah.
All right, so we're not gonna get a whole lot done.
The The only other thing I wanna add is you're not confined to the rates that are set in the ordinance for those specific things. If you wanna set forth specific things that you're concerned about for other rates, break it down. I mean, you know, I think it was brought up before, AAA has a set of various different things that you can charge. I know, but what I'm saying is you can do the same thing and break it all down. As long as it's clear and everyone knows what the rates are for whatever it is, I think the administration.
Winching, dollies, break it all down. What's the going rate for all these?
Every scene is different.
They want
Every
one
scene,
set price, no
every
matter how much
action
labor we
scene.
did.
And I think what our position is right.
What we do pretty much is at that rate. It's
I think what our-
75 and then so much a day.
I think what our position is, as long as those rates all broken down are reasonable and we can look to it, I think that'll be acceptable, at least on the administration's perspective, and I think from the police's perspective, so we can, it's taking out the discretion of making whatever charges, wanted.
And that's what we put the tow rates in. So we did adjust several of them. So we put in, and we came to the agreement last time that we would change the towing rate from, it was originally $175 to $250. Then what we said, motorcycle and off-road vehicle towing is an additional $50. Winching with a tow is $25 if required with a tow and documented by the police report. The other component was C, winching without a tow is $100 for the first 15 minutes, an additional $35 after that first 15 minutes. Then it says where a vehicle cannot be sufficiently towed on its own, the use of a dolly, flatbed, rollback may be an additional $25. Then there was another component in there that stated that they took out, in the last time, they took out no more than $65 per day for necessary inside storage. They took that out on the last legislation. It was only $45 for inside and outside storage. So I added that back in there, so it was $45 for outside storage, $65 per day for inside storage. The other one was that we also took out the fact that they said that you couldn't charge for a cleanup for hazardous material. You can set the price for hazardous material. So that.
You gotta dispose of it and stuff, we gotta get something.
Right, so literally, this is what we've put into place. I don't know what the argument is anymore, like I'm kind of lost beyond that. This is what we had in prior years, up until 2020, where the issues came. What we did was, we're gonna put the chief of police, and I have no problem doing this, as an advisory component back to the licensing commission for that process. And then the other one was that if you guys are out in Syracuse and they call you for a rotation, you are now able to call another tow company so that you're not penalized for not coming there, and they could do that work.
Once in a blue moon does, you know? It's not like
Literally, I don't know what people are arguing anymore. That's it. I think that we've come to the component that this legislation is kind of what we agreed on, and we have no problem moving that rate from 175 to 250.
Say, listen, it's like this past weekend, I got 4 tow calls. One by Utica, 3 by the state police, supposed to be available around located, okay? People don't have the money. It's supposed to be 200, I could charge up to 250, listen, they came in, I don't have the money. I don't want their cars on my lot.
Right.
Listen, here, you got $100, give me $100. When my guys are out at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, a wreck comes along. Total. Our guy spends 3 hours out at the scene, getting it, cleaning it up. Our bed's totally messed up. Our truck's $75,000 to $150,000. I think was the latest figure I bought a new one. But anyways, the whole key here is we're making up the insurance industry. You're all gonna face it. At New York State, 25% of it. New York State allows it. Everybody's gonna get like 25%. We can't dictate their rates. We're triple the rates they are, because we're our business. We're triple. You're single. We're triple, because we own business. They get us I paid $8,000 for one truck. I never had an accident in 40 years, never had them come, they never gave me a check, $8,000. I asked them why. For your business. They figured we're making it, $8,000, just for one truck. They need compensation insurance for the guy running the truck. I gotta put him out in the truck, so I can, how many guys has he got working for him? It's ridiculous. It's out of control. We can't argue. These rates at 250, 300, Joe Public, I feel sorry for them. I do. They come in my shop, I can show you right now. I can go give this to you right now. This woman called me back, says, thank you for giving me my car back. I got her Saturday night at 3 o'clock in the morning. She called Sunday morning, and I came to the shop and gave her a car. Thank you very much. I do that anyways.
stay in business.
It's 40 years. I mean, I got customers, I had to beat them to get down here before 5 o'clock because they wanted inspection. I'm a New York State inspector. You know, it's,
All right, sir, we had, thank you, but we gotta get moving here on this. All right, so, I think, go ahead, Joe.
Just have a couple questions regarding fees. So, I see throughout this document, some fees state no more than in excess of $200. Others have a set in stone fee. My question is, and I'll give you an example, 2-28-47 on the third option, kind of the hybrid model we've been looking at. So-
That's the section?
So my question is, so we have some of the.
I don't know what section you're talking about, I couldn't hear you.
2-28-47.
Right.
So we're looking at some of these that say may not charge in excess of $200. Meanwhile, other provisions say winching is $25. Winching without a tow is $100. Is there a difference between capping it and then having a fee that's set in stone? Is it, for the judge, the corporation counsel, do we recommend having it be consistent throughout this legislation where it says may not charge in excess of in each provision? So we're not having certain, you know what I'm getting at? So certain provisions are saying you can charge up to this, and
Yep.
other provisions are saying you must charge this.
I will defer to the police department as far as ease of being able to identify things as whether or not it's excessive or not. But I would say, no, it doesn't matter. If you wanna set, this is the max you can go to charge. It gives them some flexibility to their discretion. But it also, I mean, it makes the council and the police department aware, saying, okay, well, this is the max they can go for these things. They're not gonna, as long as the council is okay with that and we're okay with the rates that were set, we're not gonna object if they charge lower, obviously.
And then I just hope we're not running into an issue with setting a specific price. It has to be $100 as opposed to it can be up to $100. I don't know.
That's
I don't, legally, I don't see a problem if you say this is the cap for each of these things, don't charge in excess of X amount of dollars. But as long as that is the one rate.
Go ahead, Mark.
So I have a question for Deputy Chief. How many, you probably don't know this, but how many accidents or the police are called to bring in a tow truck? Does it happen every night? I mean, the police are calling, because, you know, because what I'm getting at is like, if I got in an accident, and I got Geico insurance, and I have insurance for, you know, roadside, whatever, and I call them, they say, you know, come pick up my vehicle, I was in an accident and everything else. I mean, does it happen very often where the police, do you have a tow truck? I mean, do you have insurance, this, that, and
So
everything
let's
else?
give you the scenario.
Okay.
So I get an accident, you know, personally, I have a preferred body shop that the officer's gonna say, do you have someone who wants to come get your car? I'm gonna say, yeah, I use so-and-so, call them up and they'll come get it. If I'm from out of town, if I've never been, you know, I'm a 17-year-old kid, my parents are away, I can't get a hold of them, and I say, I don't know what to do, the officer say, okay, we're gonna call for a
What's the potential number that we have of estimate?
I don't wanna say, cause I don't wanna give you a wrong number, I can get you, I can get you a number of tow trucks up with.
I mean, because an average citizen has insurance on the road.
You can't drive without it.
Exactly.
You're
That's
supposed
what I'm
to.
saying. I mean, people have USAA, they have AAA, they have Geico, they have all these companies that they pay for. And when they get into an accident, they'll call them because they're insured for it.
Triple A's big, I mean, that's.
so when you have,
Hang on, Mark's got the floor.
So, what I'm getting at is that it's very rare that, you know, police officers gotta call somebody on the rotation.
No,
I mean, I shouldn't say rare, but
Like 50, half the time. I don't wanna tell you, don't lock me in on that, but I can get you a number for, what you should call for yours.
For what? I thought if you have.
I can get you a number for the year that we use the
But also, do you
rotation.
have the number of how many are insured versus uninsured?
Oh, insured versus.
Yeah.
He's not gonna have that information. He's gonna be able to tell
I mean,
you.
to drive legally, you're supposed to have insurance.
Hang on, but Joe's got the floor.
just one thing I wanna add quick. So, speaking of AAA, if I have AAA, okay, and I call AAA, and the AAA guy is on the rotation, he gets billed from my AAA, not through the rotation rates, correct?
If you make the call,
If I
correct?
make the call, okay.
My second question is, let's say that we talked about 250 as a max. That doesn't mean that the bill's gonna be 250. It's 250 for the towing. It could be $25 extra if they winch. It could be $100 extra if it's hazardous material. It could be whatever those numbers are,
If they-
whatever they do on top of the 250.
Correct.
Am I
If that company had 3 tow trucks and had to tow 3 cars, it would be,
Okay.
you know.
So it's, when we say the 250 cap, that's a straight tow. If they're doing anything else, so and realistically, if there's a bad accident, their rate could be $400 or $500. It could be at least $350, $400 minimum.
Oh, clean up and everything,
Well,
absolutely.
okay, so.
It's like an ambulance, but different, that's all.
Right, okay, so I mean,
Right.
I think you should put this, I think where we are with that, I would bring it to the floor for a vote.
I still have questions too. If I can ask,
Go ahead, Kate.
another question with, putting the police chief back on, it was the commission, basically, and that's the appeals process, right?
Yes,
Should the,
I've clarified that, so I understand the concerns of having the chief on basically an appeals process.
Right.
My recommendation, because my recommendation is to have the chief or his designee, someone on there as an advisor, someone who can provide, not vote,
A
but provide the second side to whatever the story is so that they know, when whoever it is presenting and wants to appeal. But they wouldn't be a voting member, it would just be on there. The chief of police would still have all his authority to remove people from the list and all the powers to enforce the ordinance.
So how would you like it to say under A here on?
That's all you gotta say is the chief of police or his designee as an advisory.
Stop, 228.6, A, at the membership of the licensing commission shall be composed of a common council member, the designee fire chief, and commissioner of codes enforcement. What would you
Hold
like
on,
under that?
Which section?
228.6A is the
228.6.
second page.
That's all you gotta say is an advisory.
226.
228.6.
6.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
As an advisory member.
Membership of the commission shall be composed of, put whoever you want, I would suggest there needs to be 3 or 4 people, however many.
Well, you see what it says all right now, right?
Well, I'm looking at,
The second.
I'm looking at the version that
Yeah,
Sam produced.
ordinance
Well, this is
11.
the existing. this
Right,
is
we
the
know what the existing says, Jack.
So, I'm recommending the membership of the licensing commission, you can keep it common council member, their designee, or the chief, fire chief, blah, 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 or his designee, and then the chief of police will serve as in an advisory, the chief of police or his designee will serve as in an advisory capacity.
Or his advisory?
Chief, do you
Or
know how
his
many,
designee.
do you know how many
Or
people
his
appealed to the actual
designee.
process?
Will
Serve as an
We
advisor,
haven't had it in place since.
an advisory position.
But did you have complaints that prior?
Very rarely.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know who's ever appealed to that where they had a change to take the chief off of it.
I don't know that they got in trouble, really.
That's what I mean. I mean, that's.
And there were,
Well, the chief is off it, is he? No, he's off the appeal.
He's off the
process.
appeal process.
In other words, if he threw somebody off and you appealed, he used to be the guy who looked at the appeal before 2020. Now, I guess they gave it to somebody else to appeal.
They give it to the city engineer who's no longer here.
No, I believe they just took the, council member representative and put, that's who they put in place of the chief.
So you guys keep saying voting members. How many members are on this appeal process?
3.
It's
And-
a council member, it's the fire chief or his designee, and then the codes commissioner.
Okay, so, and we picked them?
No.
We picked a council member?
We
the
did,
council
but
should
they
pick
took the,
somebody
they took
else.
the chief off.
Okay, so we're gonna have those 3 on it again,
Yeah,
which is
but-
fair.
Right.
But then you're saying that you've gotta have somebody knowledgeable in the process of what that is. So you're just gonna go appoint somebody that doesn't even know anything about the actual appeals process once every day?
Maybe the chief of police can help you.
Yeah.
How about some of the guys that are involved with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Someone that's involved in the
That's what you're-
total business should be on the commission.
That's
so that
exactly
they
what I
can
was gonna
balance,
say.
check and balance back and forth.
Here's the problem, then they can't be on the tow rotation list.
Okay, so let's pick somebody that's,
Giorgio just said that.
unbiased.
You gotta have.
That's what we said, that they're on an advisory.
I got a retired guy, I could talk to, he's my best friend, Harbor Collision, Fred Lavelle, he schooled me more in the last 2 weeks about towing than anybody can school me, so maybe he would do it.
So then do that and then add the chief of police as an advisory. Then you gotta advertise it. That's
I'm
fine.
not sure he would wanna get
Well,
involved in this.
So you can keep the common council, the codes commission. Can I, Jake, I had the floor.
No, I didn't give it to you, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now you gotta give me it so everybody else could speak?
No, but, I mean, I'm trying to write it down so we got it. I'm trying to write it down so we have it. All right, then, let's, remember the license commission composed of one common council member or their designee. Is that gonna be our designee?
We could figure it.
Somebody from the outside, and somebody who is,
Whoever you choose to put on there.
is that how we wanna do it?
Wait, hang on, he's asking good questions. Why wouldn't you have one council member plus an outside person? You're gonna have 3 people.
Should we have 2 outside? We should probably have
Or
5,
their
right?
designees?
I,
Go ahead, Mark.
My question is, you know, I've been on the common council over 10 years. I've never been called to go one of these appeal processes. Have you? I mean, Sam, have you?
I've never even seen
Bob,
That's why we're trying to
Katie?
fix it.
I mean, you guys been around a while. Have you ever been called
But, no.
to be in the appeal
So-
process?
If I can just comment, I think you're getting a little too far into the weeds. It is an appeals process. I don't think this is a frequent occurrence. I think this is a rare occurrence. I don't think you need to add 100 people to it. It's just more committees. I would either leave it as is and either it be a council person that's on the commission, or you designate someone to be on the commission and do it that way.
We'll do that amendment on A then, all right?
And then keep the chief of police as an
But
advisory.
just designate the majority leader or the minority leader or somebody. That's all.
All right, let's not dirty it up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, what's the next thing?
I have one more thing.
Go ahead, Bob.
Seeing they're gonna put a cap of $250 on it, and you can't submit it to the insurance?
Oh, you can.
You can, with that.
Well,
Yeah.
you can,
Well, you can
Insurance
submit the
will still
250.
pay it.
but you can't submit over 250.
Correct.
Only with these additional.
Only the ones, only with the ones on the
Well,
wheel.
that's the number that's been thrown around.
Last week, the mayor said 300. It's
So,
like whatever you're
what I'd like to do is up it
Right.
to make it 300, because it should be
That's kinda
within the parameters of the insurance. If they're getting between $600 and $400, then why not 400? I don't know what they're, but I wanna make
Okay,
sure they
so-
get their fair
So
share.
we're looking at 28-47, towing charges, shall, no owner or tow truck may exceed $175. We're gonna change that to 250, right?
300.
I think
You cannot go on the old legislation, because there's other things, you have
There
to
is
go
old
by,
legislation.
you have to
This-
go by
this-
the proposed
the old-
ordinance number 11.
No.
Because there's other things in there, those don't set the rates, Jack, they
if I
don't.
could just jump
No,
in,
we can
the
set that.
document.
You can't amend an old piece of legislation, number one,
This is
because
the
you didn't,
legislation that is law.
you
right now.
did not propose
is-
that, Jack,
Well, this is
you
what we
can't
need to
make,
do.
oh my
If
good
I can-
lord, up in
If I can
heaven.
interject for 1 minute, the
Holy,
document that I'm using is the one that Sam proposed. So if we're gonna use any document, this is the one that I'm referencing right now because I don't have the prior legislation right in front of me.
Right.
So if you're gonna use something,
recommend we do that, or we use the old one?
He's recommending that.
you
first
use.
of all, this is very similar, I think, to what's currently in place. So
Okay.
I am probably gonna need to like have a set of eyes to make sure everything is all correct once this is done. But for purposes of right now, this is the document that I'm using to make reference and
So I
make
have-
notes on.
For council, did you
Keep
say
it.
you're gonna put out a request to get the reasonable rates here? Did you just say that, we're gonna put out a request?
What do you mean, put out a request? We're setting the rates.
I don't,
No, I know.
Did we get an average
Determine
though?
What's determined to be reasonable, that range.
Well, what's reasonable is Syracuse charges like 300 for the hours of 8 to 4 a.m. Then, or 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. or something along those lines.
What-
They charge a different price of like 175 for the day.
What I
So,
would-
go ahead.
what I would recommend is kind of what Sam said. I would either look to other municipalities, Syracuse, Troy, Schenectady, Binghamton, in the vicinity. Some of them may not have a rotation list, but you may be able to see what they contract out for their towing and use those rates, and that's gonna be kind of telling as to what is comparable in other areas and what other cities who have rotation lists are charging.
Hang on, Stack, hang on. Hang on.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that's gonna show you
Dennis, you got the floor next.
a city like Schenectady or a city like Troy is very similar to Utica. They're gonna provide similar statistics. I'm not saying you have to follow that, but that's gonna be a guideline. That's how all of us look, when I look at legislation and I have to figure out rates, when we figure out parking, when we figure out what the fees are gonna be for applications. That's how we start as a starting point, and that's what I would do, or talk to the tow operators and figure out what their various rates are.
And I don't know if I want to open this door, but Councilwoman Lewis has to mention that rates may change based on time of towing in other municipalities. Did you say that?
Yeah, so we, I mean, to not complicate the legislation, because you gotta understand, we're not reinventing the wheel here. Like, this is legislation that's already on the books. So that's what we did. And when we sat down, we had the conversation, we said that they charge, I think it was like, some charge $225, some charge $250. What the council's doing is saying now they're gonna charge $300 set rate for a tow, on top of the fact of all the other components. But you cannot amend a previous piece of legislation for the simple fact that we also added in the fact that the price rates for motorcycle, off-road towing, winching without a tow, how a vehicle is hooked up. We changed the storage charges. We changed the fact that they now can operate with another company if they need to, at their discretion. So there was other pieces in here. The other component that we did was, we changed the fact that it says that this now is very specific to Chapter 28, that it only applies to tow truck companies that are approved to operate on the tow rotation list. That is it. This doesn't apply to anybody else. So that's why we kind of changed the intent. We changed the applicability. We changed it from, I think, what was it prior to that stuff? It wasn't applicability, it was,
There was exceptions and.
it was the exception. So we applied, this only applies to this. We changed the component of the fact that this article shall be enforced by the chief of police or his designee. See the attached accident exchange report, which the chief provided a copy of that. The other thing that we did was, we changed the time frame that the time where they have to apply for a permit, where they don't have to apply for a permit. So there was a number of things that we did, that we did change it.
Is this the ordinance that you were talking about, Sam?
What's that?
Yeah.
Is this the ordinance that you gave us? Which one are you using?
This one should say proposed ordinance number 11 at the top.
I believe what she's proposing is in the current pre-legislation
Oh, it's
packet.
from free committee,
Is this the
ordinance
one?
11.
But to,
I don't have it. It must be this one.
to your initial question, I think he mentioned, if you wanna set a higher rate and just increase the rates overall, you can do that. If you wanna set the hours between, because we're gonna be able to know that, we're gonna know when we call. So if you wanna say it's $300 for,
Bells and whistles are.
I would just,
But-
I would just stick with the higher, stick with that.
yeah. We're trying to make it as simple. But I guess for my purposes, I'm trying to make sure I follow, so I can follow all the changes and make sure that this is reading correctly, because there's a lot going on. So I just need one document that people are, whether that's the current ordinance as it exists, and it's in the books, and you say you wanna make changes to this, I can use that. I just need to know the document that we're using, and I can have it in front of me to make these changes consciously, and make sure I can track what everyone is doing, and make sure this all flows and reads correctly, when it's passed. So that's my, so,
I had a question also on the, oh yeah.
To answer Councilman Bitar's question, I called a bunch of tow truck drivers, not saying that I was a councilman, just asking what it would be to get a car towed. And they were anywhere from like $375 to $550. So I think for giving them the honor of being on this rotation list, I think they all would probably be happy with 300, you know. And
Yeah, I had no
think
problem with
that's a
that.
fair price.
It's all the other prices, so I still want to know the hazardous cleanup and if
Plus,
there's any
they
of that
could add
stuff.
on, they could add on.
Unlimited hazard.
Yeah.
Unlimited, okay. And then, we said how much was for storage? 65 instead of 45?
Well, it was only set for one in the previous legislation for $45 a day.
Right.
When we sat down, we talked,
was
they said
wondering.
because it's because they have outside and inside storage, that it's, if you look at the proposed number 11, it's all in there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it
I'm on
was
that one.
45 to 65. 45 for outdoor storage,
Oh, okay, I see
65 for indoor storage. And this actually goes back to the 2017, 2018 legislation that we had that was voted on, and nobody had a problem because they were all on the tow rotation list before. So I mean, again, this is not reinventing the wheel here. It's just setting the rates, getting back to where we were, you know, what, chief, when's the last time we amended it? 2008? I mean, we went through this for like, this is like the 7th time that we've had to deal with this, because this last time was not the 7th, the 3rd time, because the last time was changed so drastically.
My last question with the permits, if say right now, I see what we're gonna do it for December 31st, well, that's when they expire. You have to have it in by December 1st.
December, because the chief has 30 days to review the
What happens if
applications.
like this year, if we started this year and it expires in August?
So
They
we
were
already
scheduled
said
to.
that we're gonna reimburse the one tow truck company that is already paid for their permit.
There's 3 of us.
There's 3 of you, okay? Start them fresh on December, that they've gotta put it in by December 1st of 2024, and then this now starts January 1st. So they will all have the opportunity to be on the tow rotation list.
And it'll
That's
be
approved,
even.
they will be reimbursed for the fact that they applied for it, and this is starting halfway throughout the year.
Do we need that written down, or is that?
I said the 31st. No, December 1st, because the chief has 30 days to review their application in order to approve it.
All right, we're good. So we vote.
So let me just say, so proposed ordinance number 11, can we just go through it really quick and what we have agreed so far to change? So if you go through, it's gonna go on to page, to section 47. We're gonna change it from $200 to $300.
Well, hold on 1 second. My
Okay.
understanding is for section 2-28-6, we're gonna add it, so it's the common council.
Oh, yeah, I'm
his-
sorry.
His designee.
Yep.
Chief of fire, keep all that, code enforcement, and then the police chief will serve in an advisory capacity.
Yep, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna change it to the membership or of the permit commission shall be composed of the common council or their designee, the chief of the fire or his designee, and the commissioner of codes enforcement or his designee, and the chief of police or his designee in an advisory component.
There you go. You did. That's that.
Yep.
Good job.
Okay. I can live with that, you guys live with that?
And just so that we know, the ordinance where we did appoint Mike Mahoney will be the ordinance, the same ordinance that we follow through that. The only thing that I will suggest to add is that that person's appointment expires the end of our council term, the common council's appointment.
Let's talk about the fees now.
So the fees,
Joe,
Should be in-
hey, Joe's gotta go, Joe.
what?
I think we need to add, sections to be reserved here, because some of them jump around from, for example, 2-28-6 to 2-28-26, to add, 7 through 25 is reserved, 32 through 45 is reserved,
Yeah, it
50
goes from
through 65.
225 to
Just as a general-
226.
Maybe if I can make a suggestion, I mean, if the council does wanna vote on it tonight, that is fine, that's in their purview. It may be easier if I know all these changes, I will put and make sure that this reads exactly as is,
We can
email
do a
it
special
out.
meeting if people want.
Drew, we actually went through that and renumbered them, because there was reserve components in the last one. So that's why we went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, A, B, C, and then it goes into the permit, Article 2. Do you remember when we switched these? How that was?
I guess it probably is the case that section.
Mr. Chairman?
Can we finish, Jack, quick, please?
The composition of the commission. I suggested that if the chief of police is there, his designee is non-voting.
Right.
That leaves 2 voting people.
No, 3.
No, we're having 3 plus him.
Who did you
3.
add?
The common council and their designee.
Common
Well, you got
council
the common
designee,
council, fire
codes,
chief,
and.
who else?
Chief, the fire
Who else?
chief.
And the fire chief,
You got the common council,
right.
the chief,
And the,
the fire
Two
chief.
chiefs, fire chief.
And the commissioner of code.
Commissioner Codes,
That's
and then
3
the
people.
advisory
And
position.
you have
for
a
the
chief
police chief, or his designee.
designee who's not a voting member.
Right, that's right.
I'm thinking, now that's 4.
That's
He's not a
3.
voting
No,
member.
There's 3, Judge, that's 3.
There's only 3 voting members.
3,
I
Judge.
know that, but what I'm thinking about is that, and I really don't know how to phrase this. How many of you are truckers that are involved in this? 3 of you, that's it? No?
4 or 5.
Well, thank you for coming, because it makes it a lot easier for them to make a decision, because they get your input. And I'm wondering, how not me, or how the commission could have a non-voting member who is really a representative of the,
We-
We,
people who are being reviewed.
we went over that, Judge. We went over that. We agreed that it's gonna be somebody that's not involved in the rotation list, but is involved in the towing.
Well, I mean, what do you put it in the legislation that
Judge,
does that?
I prepared some language and gave it to him.
Pardon me?
I prepared language. I'll give them the language, so how it reads.
Okay. All right.
Jack,
To the,
we gotta vote on this
to
tonight.
the question regarding,
tonight?
Well,
regarding,
no, Frank, she's gonna write it up. She's
Or-
gonna give it to us this week, and then
or-
we'll vote on
well,
it. Then we'll
so-
vote on it. Can you get it written?
so,
I
hold
just-
on, guys, okay,
What
hold on
is
one-
the rush?
Hold on one second.
Who's rushing, Katie?
Hold on one second. If we're using, if there's not a ton of changes to the document that Councilwoman Colosimo Testa presented, I can use this, I will make the changes and correct it. My understanding of the reasons the sections are, mislabeled is probably because it was left off reserving those sections. So I will confirm that, I will make sure that this is done. If that is the case, I will get it done during the pre-meeting or
Okay.
thereafter for the council to vote on tonight, but we need to make sure that I know what the changes are to this document,
And-
so I
and-
can make them.
And Steph, we left it open because in case anybody wanted to add any
No,
sections.
I'm fine with that. It's
So
just-
we just have to renumber them once we can finalize the components,
No,
because
they can be left reserving, I just need to make sure that when we put it in, it shows that there's.
we took out
because there was-
reserved. So that's why if you kind of just number them to go into that
That's
particular
fine.
order, in case you had to add a section, that's why we did that.
That's fine.
And then the other thing was specifically to this is that if Stephanie presents it, she's gonna present it as a new piece, okay? Therefore, we don't have to amend it on the floor. We've exhausted this. The only thing that we're gonna continue talking about is set fees. If anybody doesn't have has a disagreement with that, and they're not gonna vote on this legislation, then it can't be presented, because the first time presented on the floor, it's gotta be unanimous. So if you choose not to do that, from now until next meeting, then you have to submit your amendments, because if you don't submit your amendments, we're not gonna know what you have to do. And I think that that's fair, because everybody's
Well, let's-
had over a week.
Let's discuss the set fees. Let's discuss
Okay, so
the set
fees, we said 300, and that was the only amendment that we had to make there.
300.
That's it.
You everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I just. You were,
Okay.
I'm good with that one. I don't know about the other.
Do you have an amendment that you wanna make?
I don't know yet. I don't know these numbers without talking to tow truck drivers. So I guess
Did you meet with any of them?
a couple, but we didn't go through each little set fee.
They're not raising their hands.
I mean,
They're happy.
I was curious about the other, like the winching with a tow for $25.
$300. Well, let's ask everybody.
Are you guys happy with $300?
That's a motion to charge for insurance.
What?
People,
No, I'm not talking about the 300.
Well, he said insurance.
Excuse me. She had a question.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even about the 300. It's all the little individual add-ons on top of it, like the winching for $25 with a tow, winching without a tow, $100 first 15 minutes, additional $35 after 15 minutes. Where a vehicle cannot be sufficiently towed on its own, the use of a dolly wheels, flatbed, rollback may be additional charge of not more than $25.
And-
Is there things that we're missing or?
okay, right. I know, but that's it.
No, I mean, listen, we're not, these guys are, we're not looking to limit fees, we just wanna know what.
You wanna know what you're looking at.
That's it.
Right, I hear where the bills come in, the complaints come in, say, hey, listen, this guy complies.
You guys been sitting here for 8 meetings now, we got something to go on. Wait, all the fees that you're talking about, are you good with all the fees?
Everything that's a little bit lower than the dollar.
I'm listening.
And I
but
have no
you're just
problem
putting us
amending
back
the
on. Yes.
The storage was actually set prior to that. That we actually, we increased,
It's still.
Joe, are you all set?
but we did increase it.
Joe, you want that?
I got a question for the deputy chief. So, to get off the race schedule.
Sir, we're done, all right? No more questions, all right? We gotta move on. Thank you. You can ask him after the meeting. Okay, do you have any more questions?
So we're bringing it out,
We're
Chad?
gonna bring it out once she has it typed up. I have no problem bringing it out.
I just wanna clarify, no other changes, so I'm using the document that Sam presented. I made the amendments that you just discussed. I'm gonna go correct those, the numbers, make sure it all reads correctly, and that's gonna be what.
That's it, those are the only
Okay.
ones.
All right,
We'll
motion
see.
to
What if we
adjourn.
tell 'em?
Hey, Bob. How long we got? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
5 minutes. 5 minutes. I like to call this, thank you, Mark. I'd like to thank everybody first for coming. And second, let's start this meeting of the pre-meeting caucus. The first thing on the agenda is the sale of wine, beer to the Utica Zoo. It's okay, no problem with it? Second piece is the sale of wine and beer to the Jewish Community Federation. No problem? The next one's for the sewer, amending the sewer rents. Is there any discussion on this? Is there any figures that came down from,
If we can get more information, I guess, on this one.
you know, is there more information that the city could provide to us? Maybe we should put this in committee and discuss it at the next meeting?
Put it in the committee.
Okay, we'll put it in committee. Thank you. The next thing is calling for a public hearing for 15.
Hey, Bob, one second. So we're gonna put that in committee, and who out of the committee of the whole is gonna call for a meeting for that? Are we gonna keep it in committee? Are we gonna have a meeting before our next meeting, or what are we gonna do?
Well,
No, I know, but when are we gonna have the meeting?
I remember them bringing up stuff on E&A. I'll ask the mayor where, I didn't know how much, if it's a lot of information, then I'll call for a meeting, and if it's just like an email, we'll send it out. I'll double check on it.
thank you, Joe. The next one was the calling for a public hearing on 1538 Miller Street. Councilman Irvin?
Yeah, I've talked to the people over there to make sure that they're still involved in trying to get it, so I'm good with it.
Thank you. The next one's proposal ordinance number 5. We're gonna put that, we'll put that in committee.
Yeah, put it in committee.
Next one is calling for a public hearing for James Street. Councilman Irvin?
Yeah, I went to the variance committee on this one and listened a little bit about what they wanted to do and what he had to do to make it work for the city. So it's good, but we're gonna put it in committee though until because there are some people that want to talk at the public hearing,
Okay.
public comment.
The next one's the next one's the 137, 139 as well. We'll put that in committee? Proposed number 8 is a marriage officer. Councilman Bitar. For Tim Julian, I assume it's good.
Hold out, right?
Yeah.
Hold out. Number 9, proclamation for Cafe Delmonico.
Yep. Hold out.
Hold out.
Full council?
I'd like to.
Yeah. Okay.
Full council.
This one is for street sign honoring Father Jim Sesta for his 50th anniversary at Mount Carmel.
Yeah, I'd like to be on that.
Yeah, let's do full council.
Full council.
Thanks for handing that off, Joe, by the way. And then,
Number 11 is well, we're waiting for
sounds like
Stephanie
it'll
for
be
the,
ready.
so we can replace this one with the one we get from Stephanie?
Yes.
And we can go forward with that tonight?
Yeah,
Is there any issues with that?
I'm good with it now.
Okay, very good.
Hold this out, okay?
Pull it out.
Because you got a new one coming.
The transfers? Oh, yeah.
And the last piece of legislation is an E&A transfer. It's for, what's it for here?
This was for the streetlights, just replenishing the money we needed to finish paying for those. So that was good to go.
So that's good to go?
Yep, if we don't.
Any questions on the E and A transfer?
No.
If not, any
I
further
would-
business?
I would like to pull for tonight, if we were ready to pull the cannabis zoning. Did anybody have any questions on that? Because I thought it was good to go, but,
Yeah, no problem. I don't know about that.
okay. I was hoping to lift the moratorium there, but yeah. The cannabis, if you had any questions on the zoning.
I thought there was gonna be legislation on the zoning.
It's in committee.
We're waiting for, yeah, but isn't it coming down from?
It was supposed to be here tonight. I talked to Mike, and Mike said it was gonna be here tonight.
There's a new one?
For the- it's
For
not-
what?
For the
Why don't
zoning.
we, Bob,
It's already ready to go.
why don't we, since we had some success with the tow truck meeting like that, why don't we call a separate meeting for the cannabis? That's a big topic. On a night we don't have a meeting. And
We met last,
what's that?
you guys met last?
Yeah,
Right, but there was stuff that needs to come down that hasn't, why didn't it go back?
what has to come down?
Because there is a public hearing that's being held tonight. Once
Yeah.
the public hearing is
Oh,
held
okay,
tonight.
that's what we held.
I mean, she showed the maps.
Yeah.
Weeks ago, she showed the maps.
So
Yeah.
tonight is the public hearing.
Tonight's the public hearing, and you can act after the public hearing. I think Stephanie has one seeker amendment that needs to be made,
Okay.
but she has it all written out.
Okay.
and
But once
share
it-
with you.
Can I ask questions on that right now, though, during this? Can I ask?
Yeah.
Mr. Thomas a question? Can you explain to me again, as I was a little bit, so the memorandum came down, or
Moratorium.
The
moratorium came down, okay? So from the time the moratorium came down, okay, people were able to go online, put applications in, but you couldn't look at them. We took them just for clerical purposes.
Yes, they submitted them, so we
Submitted
accepted them, but we didn't put them on the agenda.
And you didn't, did you read them? Did you pick over
Well,
them?
I've seen them because
Okay.
they're submitted to
So,
me, but.
What about people who purchase buildings and put stuff in before the moratorium came in? Where do they lie in this? Cause I know, you know, and I gotta be honest with you, I've seen the maps look very good, I understand, I like all that, but I'm just concerned, I'm concerned about the city and their liability. If somebody purchased property beforehand with the intention of putting a store there, and, I mean, is that, I'm sure it happened in a few cases with you, right, or no?
It's possible, I'm not aware of anything necessarily,
Okay.
but this body was well within its right to both issue the moratorium, adopt the moratorium, as well as adopt any changes to the zoning that you see fit. And the courts generally recognize your authority
Okay.
to
So whatever
modify
was done
zoning
before
as
the
you see fit.
moratorium was done before the moratorium does not stand at all. It's gonna be what we do going forward.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm good with 10 through 14.
I have one question. You know, I brought it up, you know, the United Square was part of that, where they could have a store there and trying to clean it up at the same time. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I think because of the state's regulation on these stores are gonna be some of the better run facilities
Yeah.
in terms of what they're proposing to do, because of the security requirements, because of the background checks, because of all the regulations that the state has on them. The state licensed facilities are not gonna be a nuisance to the neighborhood. It's the illegal ones that we've gotta worry about, and
Makes sense.
So Brian, I got another question for you.
Sure.
Then we can bring out proposition number 14 to rescind,
Once we pass the zoning.
once we pass the zoning?
I don't have it in front of me. 14
The
rescinds the
moratorium.
moratorium?
The
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay.
Once you have the zoning regulations in place, once you have new zoning regulations in place, the moratorium is.
So we can vote on 10 through
meaningless.
13 and
So
then.
we could we could vote on 9 and 14 then?
10 through 14, well, yeah, I'm still not for 9, but that's up to everybody else. But 14, the moratorium can be lifted. The last thing they were waiting for was the zoning ordinance.
Public hearing. we'll wait for.
Right, so 10 through 13 will have to be, when we're ready to vote on the zoning, that'll be 10 through 13 we pull.
Why can't we vote on 9 then too?
You can, I have more, if there's gonna be questions on anything, I do have that one, just with the language of it all and what's
I'm
enforceable.
not sure what 9 was.
But 14, we definitely
9,
should
the public
rescind the
area.
moratorium for sure today.
9 relates to public cannabis consumption.
Yeah.
What was the, I'm sorry, what was the question?
I was just explaining that 10 through 13 was the zoning, so if we vote on that, then can you confirm we can then vote on rescinding the moratorium?
That is correct.
And then people could vote on number 9 if they wanted to. I was just personally against that one or had more questions at the very least.
That is correct.
So. But 10 through 13, there was.
And I guess, I don't know if you're going through those pieces, I guess I did make some amendments, per your request at the last.
Oh, that'd be great, because we are gonna vote.
There was some confusion as to the language that was used in the be it ordained, amending, adding. I clarified that. So for section, or for ordinance number, hold on. For ordinance number 10,
Yeah.
the be it ordained will read, be it ordained that section 2-29-361 entitled marijuana dispensary / retail is hereby added to the code of ordinance as follows. The rest is removed. I also added, there was some concern about wanting to make sure that everyone complied with the license regulations and conditions through Office of Cannabis Management. So under subsection A in that paragraph 1, I added all marijuana retail dispensaries established in the city of Utica shall be in compliance with the provisions of this section and all conditions and or regulations, it should say, of their license issued by New York State Office of Cannabis Management.
Can you, can you make copies of, so we'll need to amend those ones on the floor, or do we have the official?
I'll make those amendments.
You have those ones, thanks.
For the next one, for ordinance number 11, again, I know that there was some concerns about how it was worded. I really couldn't do much with this one, but I did add so it was clear. It reads, Code of Ordinance, the city code is hereby amended by adding the entry X for marijuana dispensaries / retail in the column supplemental regulations, so it was clear that it was going in that column. For proposed ordinance number 12, again, I clarified the be it ordained. It now reads, be it ordained that section 2-29, 113B2 is hereby added to the code of ordinances as followed. I also added some language regarding seeker. We didn't realize when planning board was acting, because this is an amendment and we're adding a map, typically planning board would entertain seeker. They'd make a motion, declare themselves lead agency, make a determination as to the status of the action, and then vote on that, making sure that there's no negative impacts. But because planning board isn't the one holding the public hearing, it's the council's authority and function to do that and declare themselves lead agency, declared as an unlisted action pursuant to seeker, and then say there's no negative impacts. So that'll just need to be added so it can be included in this ordinance when you pass for the map. I provided the actual language so that everyone knows, and I'll share that so everyone knows what's being read. For ordinance number 13, again, I made changes to that, be it ordained. It now says, be it ordained that section 2-29-114 to the code of ordinances is hereby amended to include the following subsection. So those are the changes pursuant to the last meeting that we had, that I had made to the legislation, so everyone was clear and in agreement.
Great. Thank you. 14 is good to go. So 10 through 14 will pull.
Yeah, number 9 never had anything to do with,
Right. Cool.
Oh, we're not pulling it up. It's right there, you can't smoke open.
Yeah, we don't think 14 is.
Okay, any other questions?
No?
I hear a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn? Second? Or I made a motion, yeah. Stephanie.
Potentially before you adjourn, I don't know if you want the clerks to print off what I did so I can make sure that everyone understands the changes that I made on the towing.
That
Just
would
now.
be great.
So I don't know if you want to pause for maybe 5 minutes, let Drew print
Take a
those out.
recess.
We got 20 minutes.
We got a half hour-ish, 25 minutes.
Take 10 minutes?
So,
I don't know, is
We
this
can
clock
adjourn
right?
and she'll print it out.
Also, the only thing is I'm gonna ask the council, since this hasn't been introduced before, that we just introduce the new component of it. That way we're not amending legislation on the floor. It can just be introduced as a new piece.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now do I hear a motion? Second?
Second.
Okay, 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
On the docket.
Come to order. The city clerk will call the roll.
Aiello, Burmaster, Butar, Carcone, Irvin, Beatrice, Williamson, Classimo Testa, Lemetico, Giruzzi, all present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for deceased members of the Common Council. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does the chair hear a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
There is no public hearing tonight. Public comment period will be allowed 3 minutes per speaker. Comments towards any negative comments towards any city official or city employee, you'll be asked to stop. And basically, your comments should probably be related to the legislation of the night. Jared Tuff. Jared, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 public comment period. Are you in agreement with the rule?
Yes.
Please state your name.
Jared Tuff.
Thank you, Jared.
I just want to give some clarity on the last time I was here and when I spoke. When the mayor first got into office, I actually tried to set up a meeting with him to talk about some issues and different things. And he told me that because I had some legal actions against the city, that we couldn't sit down. Him and his chief of staff told me that. And even though these legal litigations were prior to him becoming mayor, and they also, I dropped them because I wanted to give him a chance to do what he needed to do for the city, some things he said that he was going to do, and I had some faith in that. To me, the two most important people at these meetings are the judge and Stephanie, because they have to they have to give you guys the law, and that's very important because sometimes when you don't, none of you have to have any type of law degree to be here, and sometimes you get in these chairs and you become emotional and you become like a little bit of let's just say self-righteous, and you can violate someone's rights like mine. That's what happened when last time I spoke. My freedom of speech was violated. I didn't say anything wrong. I said I heard something and I wanted the person that I voted for to give me.
Yeah, continue on, Jared. But if you read that statement, you cannot have any negative comments towards any city official or city employee.
I didn't say anything negative.
You made an accusation, so just continue on.
Yeah,
please.
and he cleared it up for me, and I appreciate that. And that's what makes me feel that, I don't want to take any type of legal action because he actually cleared it up for me. And I appreciate that because I heard something and I just wanted to get it clear. And that was good what he did. But some people ran to Facebook, the chief of staff, using words like disgraceful and just really bringing it on. And I just want to clear it up that I didn't say I believed it. I just wanted to get some clarity of it. And I just feel that I won't be bullied and I won't be intimidated because I have rights. I didn't say anything wrong. I just wanted clarity. And that's all that happened. And I appreciate him doing that. But I would appreciate if you guys respect people's freedom of speech, especially when they're not violating anyone. So I'm done now, sir. Okay?
Good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good.
Sam Nasmos. Sam, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, public comment period. Are you in agreement?
Yep.
State your name, Sam.
Samuel Nasmos.
Thank you, sir.
First, I'd like to thank Deputy Chief Noonan for request I made at the last meeting, and he immediately dealt with it, sending the speed device that tells the numbers. What I'm here tonight to do is make a suggestion to all of you, and I already talked to the deputy chief. In my life, I find that cities that have high major crime, it's because the police have lost the respect or the power of their force to deliver the law on our streets the way it was in the 60s and 70s in this city. You had a reason to be afraid if you saw 2 cop cars. That meant there were 2 cops in those cars, and you weren't going to break the law. Now it seems that the young people are just, there's no fear of the law. I don't know if that comes down from the punishment or if it comes down from the laws themselves. So as the council people here, we need to address the laws in the city. They need to become more severe and extreme. Set an example for the state of New York that a small city like Utica will deliver punishment for those that don't adhere to the laws. I'm asking for the fines in this city to be tripled for everything, from codes departments to the police departments to the fire departments. I'm asking for traps to trap our so-called law-abiding citizens breaking the law. That means setting up speed traps, roadblocks on Genesee Street at night, and highways, stopping people looking for the crime. Be a reactionary and an actionary police department. Don't wait for the crime to happen. Go find the crime. You know where it is. We set the laws in the city, the people. You people here in this building make them onto paper. Judges deliver the punishment. No breaks. A summer of law for Utica, New York this year, 2024. I want to see a summer of law. I want to see when they're having a good old time that the police force is out in force. So they learn to respect 4th of July and the fireworks laws and everything else. This is baloney. People are driving down Genesee Street running lights on a Sunday night. I walk my dog and I just literally watch the youngsters speeding down Genesee Street and they don't care about the lights. That means they have no regard for our laws. They have no regard for the weak punishments and the fines. The city's in trouble. With more strict fines, let's get a contest going.
Sam, you got to finish up, please.
Let's get a contest going with a dollar amount that our police force is supposed to bring in. Set them a goal and start bonusing our policemen with money for reaping the rewards. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Heather Waslewski. Heather, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period. Are you in agreement?
Yep.
Please state your name.
Heather Wasilewski.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to address the recent changes to our flag flying traditions at City Hall, particularly the decision to stop flying pride flag and not lowering flags at half-mast for fallen service members. It's important to recognize that flying a flag is not a right, but a privilege extended by the city to reflect our shared values and commitments. Flying the pride flag has been a meaningful gesture of support for the LGBTQ+ community, and lowering the flag at half-mast has been a profound way to honor our service members and other public servants. These traditions are not only symbols, they're public affirmations that our city and residents believe in respect and inclusion. They send a clear message that everyone in our community is valued and welcomed. The decision to change the flag policy was made without any discussion, communication with residents, which caused an outpouring of alarm and disappointment. It appears to signal a shift away from our city public commitment to being welcoming and inclusive. While that may or may not be true, why didn't the city openly explain its reason for changing the flag policy, reaffirm its commitment to inclusion, and communicate how it intends to ensure Utica will remain open, welcoming to LGBTQ+ people? Why instead has it been left to residents to draw their own conclusions? I strongly urge the council to reconsider this decision. When people talk about Utica and the Mohawk Valley, we're often referred to as a city that loves refugees. Being known as inclusive, diverse, and welcoming city is our superpower. We have an opportunity to drive the narrative forward. Let's continue to embrace this identity, not just through words, but through our actions and symbols we choose to display. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Heather. Brent Rant. Brent, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period.
Yes.
Are you in agreement?
Yes.
Please state your name.
My name is Brenton Recht.
Recht. Thank you, Brent. Sorry about that.
It's common. It's fine. All right. So thank you to the council and the other city officials here tonight. I would say to everyone here tonight, please speak up so we can hear you in the back there. So I am also here to speak about the new policy for flag racings at City Hall. I've only really heard about this policy secondhand, but what I have heard is concerning. Most details I have are from a WKTV article this afternoon. The mayor seemed to take credit for the new policy. He is obviously not here. I'll try to refrain from referencing him too much. It's unclear to me who, if anybody, has been provided a copy of this policy, including officials of the city. I do apologize if I say something about the mayor unintentionally, but he is the only really source of information that I've had so far. So there's a risk of that, and I apologize in advance. WKTV quotes him as saying that the flags are for countries of origin, national flags, municipal flags, an actual flag of a country or state, if you will. Based on that statement, if that is the extent of the policy, it appears to forbid flags such as the POW MIA flag or any flag of a branch of the United States military. There are some flags that would be allowed under this that would also be controversial. For instance, the flag of Israel or Palestine, the flag of Russia. It is not clear to me if the city would be obliged to fly one of these flags if they were asked to. To clarify, I'm not here to speak in favor or against any of those countries. They're just examples of cases that could be controversial. I would also point out ethnic groups such as the Karen of Myanmar, of whom we have many in Utica. Do they count as a country or state? They are unrepresented within Myanmar. They do not have their own country per se. We have refugees from other unrepresented peoples within Utica. And it is also unclear what happens when controversy happens, when we get a complaint. There are ethnic groups that have had conflict with one another. In those cases, would a small vocal group be allowed to remove the flag of somebody that they oppose? These are just a few of the...
Brent, you're going to have to finish up, please.
Yes. So the mayor cited a case in the city of Boston where a group who wasn't allowed to fly their flag sued Boston and won. Boston's policy was a city council resolution or mayoral proclamation will be required for a flag to be raised. That is much less complicated than what the current policy appears to be. In general, the flag raising policy seems like it's not well thought out. Thank you.
Mark Ford. Mark, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, public comment period. Are
Yes,
you in
sir.
agreement? Please
Yes,
state
sir.
your name.
My name is Mark Ford, and I have been a lifelong resident of Utica except for my time in the Marine Corps. And I'm also the president of Shipwright Services located and headquartered here in Utica. What I wanted to talk about today was the Utica Business Park, upon which is a sign, and my dad's name is on that sign, the Apollo Ford Business Park. And there's been discussion about why it should be on there and the other name should be removed. So, a lot of people have no idea why my dad's name's on there, and I'm going to give you a brief history of it. So back in the mid-'80s, Utica College was expanding rapidly, getting a lot more students. They were actually busing them into apartments, multiple apartments throughout the city. It was expensive. They were looking for a way out of that. Utica College was part of Syracuse University, and Syracuse University would not allow Utica College to build dormitories. They didn't want any capital acquisitions. In fact, they were trying to get rid of Utica College. So my dad, looking at a piece of property that was for sale near there, the Ramada Inn on Burstone Road, thought about the Utica College golf course, which is located where the business park is obviously now. And he figured, well, we'll sell the golf course to the city of Utica, who's actively looking for a property to put a business park up. We'll get the capital from that, purchase the Ramada Inn, and now we got a dormitory. So that's how that whole idea came about. And my dad championed that whole idea and took it from idea to inception to reality. And that's why his name is on that business park. Now, as far as the other name on the business park, I have no comment on that. That is up for others to decide whether or not that name stays on or falls off, but I'm here to pine for my dad's name to stay on that sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Carolyn McLeese. Carolyn, Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, public comment period. Are you in agreement?
Yes.
Please state your name.
Carolyn McAleese.
Thank you.
I'm concerned about this sewer rate increase. I think that the taxpayers need to see facts and figures that prove the need for any other increase. Seems to me like the property tax increase, I guess, wasn't enough, and now you want to nickel and dime us for a little bit more. If this legislation is discussed in committee without full disclosure, then I think you should all vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Communication from the mayor? No communication. Report of city officers. We'll start with Fire Chief Angersall.
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everybody that the fire department will be celebrating its 150th anniversary on Saturday, June 1st. There's a reception open to the public. There's tickets available for purchase, and I'd like to see a good turnout to help celebrate the fire department and a momentous occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Stephanie DeGiorgio, Corporation Counsel.
Nothing to report.
Deputy Chief Noonan, Police Department.
Just want to thank the council and the tow truck operators for working together to come to a resolution on the tow ordinance, and I acknowledge Attorney DeGiorgio too for all her hard work. She's been working on this for some time, and hopefully this is able to be resolved tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Brian Thomas, Urban Renewal.
Nothing to report.
City Engineer Nick Breidenbecker.
Nothing to report.
Marcus Phillips, Codes.
Nothing to report.
Chief Gentile.
I'm going to echo Deputy Chief Noonan. It has been a few months.
The other thing I'll say, so I just want to address the flag policy very briefly. It is not a policy towards any singular group. It's a policy across the board that prevents a liability to the city and lawsuits, and prevents the city from having to be in a position to pick and choose what groups we honor, what groups we don't, because as the one public speaker referenced, there was a court case decision from the city of Boston where, again, they chose one group, they denied another group, and the group that was denied was able to put together a lawsuit that made the city liable. That's with a policy of proclamations or anything like that. It is not the position of the administration at all to be against the Pride flag, to be against groups that are celebrating Pride Month. It is just a policy that was necessary to be consistent and take out any gray area that left the city liable for any lawsuits, and putting us in a position where we do not have to choose when there's a less worthy cause that is trying to raise a flag of something that would be more detrimental to a community. But as a city, as an administration, you know, we've fielded many calls. We are going to set up a meeting with the group that requested this in the first place, and we will continue to be welcoming, continue to create dialogue and have situations where we can reach common ground. And other than that, I think council meetings should not be on the beautiful days. So if you guys can like figure out how to schedule these on rainy days, it'll be better for all of us.
Thank you, Chief. There is no miscellaneous communication, petitions, remonstrance, and appeals. Council member First Ward, KIL.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say it's been a busy couple weeks here of lots of meetings of anything from tow trucks to cannabis. And I just wanted to thank everybody for being so involved, because when that happens, we can make policies that reflect the people. And I think it's been a lot of good conversations around that. So thank you for that. And that is all I have this evening.
Councilmember Robert Burmaster, Second Ward.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I want to thank the tow companies for reaching out and working with me and working with the council to get this problem hopefully resolved for good. And a week from tonight, we have our West Utica meeting at 6 o'clock at 5 Points. Unfortunately, I won't be there, but I have another prior engagement. But that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Councilmember Joe Bitar, Third Ward.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple brief announcements tonight. Thank you, everyone, for coming. So the second, I should say, public forum on the reuse of the former St. Elizabeth's campus. That's going to be on May 7th, 6 p.m. at Munson in the auditorium, and that's 310 Genesee Street. So that's the second public forum on the reuse of St. Elizabeth's and where we'll go with that moving forward. Again, May 7th, 6 p.m. at Munson, 310 Genesee Street. The next South Utica Neighborhood Association meeting, that's going to be May 13th at 6 p.m. That's at its new location, 106 Memorial Parkway, and that will be the Utica School Board Candidate Forum for that next meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Bitar. Fourth Ward, Frank Carcone.
I'd like to recognize Councilman Williams for having his ROTC program come and pick up all the garbage around the parks a couple Saturdays ago. They did a great job. He had a good turnout, and I'd like to thank Sam for all the work she did on this tow trip. That's it.
Thank you. Fifth Ward, Councilmember Venice Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next Cornhill Neighborhood Association meeting will be May 14th at 6 o'clock at Muck, Midtown Utica Community Center. And just to let you guys know, I can see across the park now in Johnson Park, Pike Construction has finally removed most of the containers and all of their stuff, so they're close to completion of the Johnson Park Center projects that are going on. The community center is almost completed. And they're gonna be having the opening for residents to move into the apartment building. There's the 3 apartment buildings that they built on June 1st. It was supposed to be May 1st, but they pushed it back to June 1st. There's still a couple things that need to be done. What they don't know yet is I'm gonna have no parking signs sit on at any time on West Street, so I might need help because the residents are already complaining about not being able to back out the driveway once it's completed. So me and Reverend Skates will have a little chat. So thank you.
Thank you. 6th Ward Council Member Joe Beatrice.
Thanks, Mr. President. Since everybody's throwing the thank yous out, I'm going to throw a bunch out too. First, people I want to thank is Chief of Staff Gentile and Councilperson Colosimo for the wonderful job. I would thank Rocco too, but he wasn't there. But taking care of the North Utica Little League and all the work that they've done on the field. It's a pleasure to see them get a lot of stuff done, not just North Utica Little League field, the Cinderella field. The girls are doing they have a league in there now too, and they've done a lot of work up there. I also like to thank the new engineer, Nick Bredenbecker. It's a pleasure to be able to call and email somebody and they call you back. I want to thank Marcus Phillips. Been there for everything for me. He always answered the phone, but we've had a lot of complaints lately in North Utica with codes. They've been there and cited people, and Deputy Chief Noonan, he's always there for me all the time too. So I did my thank yous tonight. So, and lastly, I want to mention on Monday, May 6th, 6 p.m., Twin Towers, 509 2nd Street, is the East Utica meeting. I know I represent mostly North Utica, but I am part of East Utica, and I try to go to these meetings also. The topic is going to be, I believe, it's going to be the school board candidates. So we'd like to get some people there to talk and learn about it. That's all I have tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Council at Large, Mark Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the kind words, Councilman from the 4th Ward. I will relay that message on to the cadets. And also want to thank all the tow truck drivers coming out and voicing your opinions, because we needed that information to make our decisions. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Council Member at Large, Samantha Calissimo Testa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief, just a couple topics to touch on. You know, state testing for our kids is extremely, it's a long process, and I just want to say how proud I am of my students and my own children for getting prepared to take that test, because it's not easy, and the state doesn't make it any easier for us. So good luck to them, and a job well done so far. The other thing, I want to thank the Parks Department for going in and helping us get ready for our opening season to Little League. You know, we got to defend our championship this year. I do coach with Rock, and hopefully we can succeed again in our championship to defend that title. And you know, I want to thank Rock for putting in the time as well to help with the kids, because it is beneficial for their future. That's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council Member at Large, Jack Lemedical.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. I really appreciate the audience, and the council here really appreciates all your input. Our tow truck drivers, you did a heck of a job helping us put this legislation together, and I appreciate all the talk and all the conversation we have together. So hopefully we put something really together for you, and thank you, Samantha, for working hard on that as well, and the rest of us. Finally, what it had to do with the gay community. I have a son that's gay, and I think he's the greatest kid in the world. And I think it's important that we that we serve our gay community, and I'm going to do everything I can, speak with the mayor to see if we could have a raising for you. I'm not sure if we could do it, but if the mayor will let me raise it myself, I'll raise the flag, because I'm doing it for, you learn a lot when you have somebody in your family that's gay, and you go through a lot working with it and trying to figure it out. But I'm proud of him. I couldn't be any more proud of him. He's one of the greatest kids I know, and if I could help to get that flag up there, I will. Thank you.
Judge Guillermo.
Not everyone receives a paper, OD or the Rome Sentinel. From an era that I was a part of, a very prominent person died just the other day. William Goodman, he was a long-time county legislator, very active in politics and the community, and he's also the father of, I believe, the Commissioner of Jurors, John Goodman, and he's the father of our Assemblywoman, Mary Ann Buttonshum. The calling hours, I can't relate to you. I think it was 3 to 6 at Dimbleby's, but I thought that at this meeting we always acknowledge public officials who have passed away or have some relationship to our elected officials. And for those of you who didn't see it was in the Observer Dispatch, it wasn't in the Rome Sentinel. That's who William Goodman was, and he had a long, distinguished career and record. And I just wanted to make that known at the Common Council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. We are going to start with proposed resolution number 9, just to start with right now. Yep. Motion to introduce. Second. It's a proclamation recognizing Cafe Domenico, whereas Cafe Domenico served residents of the city of Utica for over 2 decades, and whereas Cafe Domenico, having served as a community venue aimed at providing space for face-to-face sociability and great coffee, with an emphasis on support for other local businesses, whereas Orrin and Kim Domenico and their family, having dedicated decades of time and effort to residents of the city of Utica, whereas Cafe Domenico closed its doors on March 30th, 2024, whereas in recognition of Cafe Domenico's mission and the mission of the Domenico family, it is hereby be it proclaimed that the Common Council of the city of Utica hereby recognizes the above contributions made by Cafe Domenico over the past 2 decades. Be it further proclaimed, this proclamation will forever be inscribed into the minutes of the City of Utica Common Council meeting on the 1st day of May, 2024. Votes, please.
Your votes, please. 9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed resolution number 1.
I'll make the motion.
Second, okay, authorizing the sale of wine and beer to the Utica Zoo. Name of sponsor, Utica Zoo. Wine in the Wilderness, Saturday, June 1st, 2024, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Utica Zoo, 1 Utica Zoo Way, Utica, New York, 13501. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce resolution number 2.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Authorizing sale of wine and beer to the Jewish Communities Federation of the Mohawk Valley, sponsor JCC, Utica, Sunday, June 9th, 2024, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. JCC, 2310 Oneida Street, Utica, New York. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Proposed resolution number 4, are we calling for a public hearing? Ordinance 3? Yep.
Resolution,
Yeah.
ordinance 3.
Yeah, ordinance 3, are we calling for,
I'd like to call for a public hearing.
yeah. Motion and a second?
To commit?
To commit.
Yeah.
Well, we were on the
Could you guys please take this meeting seriously?
Yeah, that's 4.
That's straight.
Any opposed?
We just
Committed.
want it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Calling for a public hearing for proposed resolution number 4. Can I have a
Let's do it.
second?
Second.
Any opposed? Yep. Whereas the Utica Urban Renewal Agency is the owner of 1538 Miller Street, whereas an offer to purchase 1538 Miller Street has been received by Utica Urban Renewal Agency from Hussein Katjakovic, whereas the purchase of the price for the property is $20,902.48. Your votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to commit
Motion to commit.
proposed ordinance number 5.
Motion.
Second. Any opposed? Motion to commit proposed resolution number 6. Oh, we are passing it? Okay, first and second? Yep. Whereas the Utica Urban Renewal Agency is the owner of 137 and 139 James Street, whereas the developer plans to create a hydroponic farming space in the shipping container for local distribution, provided conditional approval on December 14th, 2003. Upon him receiving a zoning using variance, which was granted on April 16th, 2024, the purchase of property, $1,500. Now therefore it be resolved, the Utica Common Council will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Your votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to commit ordinance number 7.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Commit. A motion to introduce proposed resolution number 8. Second.
I'll second.
Yeah, marriage officer, be it resolved that pursuant to Chapter 49 of the laws of New York, 1988, the Common Council does hereby appoint the following person as a marriage officer, the term of which shall be from May 1st to 2024 to December 31st, 2025. Timothy Julian, 137 Higby Road, Utica, New York. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Votes, please.
Mr. President, just want to make a quick motion to waive the Thursday rule on this one.
Second.
Second.
Nine yeas adopted.
A motion to introduce proposed resolution number 10.
We're actually going to wait on this one. If we're, don't pull it. We'll just let it.
Okay.
We'll do a new one for the 15th. Thank you.
A motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 11.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce.
Second. Ordinance replacing Chapter 228 tow rotation list of Utica City Code of Ordinances. Yep. Be it ordained that the City of Utica Common Council hereby rescinds and replaces Chapter 228 tow rotation list of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Utica with the following. Everyone has that?
Yeah.
Nine E's adopted.
No. Motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 12. Second?
Like to make a motion to waive the Thursday rule?
Yep. E&A transfer 2023, 2024. Be it ordained that the city controller is hereby authorized and directed to make the following transfer. Votes, please.
Mr. President?
Yes.
We got to waive the Thursday rule on.
No.
No?
Just
That's for Joe's stop sign piece? Oh, okay.
Nine E's adopted.
a motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 13. Can I have a second?
Yes.
Intersections where stop required be ordained that section 216-358 Schedule C intersection where stop required to be amended to include the following. Rescind Rucker Street and Tilden Ave, 2 stop signs on Tilden. Replace Rucker Street and Tilden Avenue 4-way stop. Be it ordained that the proper signage is already in place. Votes, please.
Nine E's adopted.
A motion to introduce proposed resolution number 14. Second. A resolution providing for public hearing on a zoning amendment. Now therefore be resolved that the Utica Common Council shall conduct a public hearing on the proposed amendments at its regular meeting on May 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Votes, please.
Nine E's adopted.
Is there a motion and a second to remove pieces from committee?
Yeah, I'd like to know, public hearing on the 15th for the sewer rate increase. But I know it's in committee. Can we call a meeting for it? For a public meeting before?
Yeah, but you're calling a public
A
hearing.
public hearing?
Public hearing.
No, a public meeting.
You want to do?
Committee meeting.
We want a public hearing. No, we want a public hearing.
Yeah,
We want a public hearing.
Time out, you can't, you gotta.
Guys, hold on.
Correct me, please.
You want public comment on the sewer rates?
No, we want a public hearing.
All right, first of all, you have to have a piece of legislation drafted.
It's already in there.
Where is it?
It's already in committee.
Where?
No, so, okay, so hold on one second. So if you're gonna call for a public hearing, you need to have legislation to call for a public hearing on the piece that you're gonna call for. It's not required to be called on. You don't need to call for a public hearing on that particular piece.
Well, we are.
I understand that, it's not required, so what I'm saying is though, you need to have legislation, much like I had initially drafted the legislation for the moratorium. You have to have a piece of legislation saying how much time, setting forth various items as to calling for the public hearing.
You can't just call for a public hearing. Gotta,
We'll fix that for the next.
Yeah.
We can do it.
you gotta introduce legislation to the committee
One
meeting.
person at a time, please.
Mr. President, they have to follow the rules that they're listed by them. If you call for a public
what
hearing.
should we do right
So you
now?
have to call for a committee meeting based on the sewer rent legislation.
Can you do that, Robert, for us?
Once you call for the committee meeting, then you also have to introduce legislation for a public hearing to be discussed at our pre-meeting. Once you call for that public hearing, you have to wait for the next council meeting with unanimous in order to do it. So you're looking at probably 4 weeks out for a public hearing, which needs 10 days. So you might not even be able to vote for it on the next,
Okay.
on the next meeting.
We'll just call the meeting? Yep.
I'd like to call for a committee meeting.
And thank you. And with that said, Stephanie, what I think that needs to be addressed is that the fact that the sewer rates were not correct under the city code from 2016. So-
So if I could just talk, I'm not sure why that was incorrect. We were all surprised, I mean, and we didn't even have the, written legislation, no one recalls it ever being changed, so I'm not sure how that occurred without our knowledge of it.
Our concern is anytime you have a tax increase, I think we should have
Yeah,
a
but
public hearing
Time
on
out,
it.
time out. It's not a tax increase.
No, it is too. It's
No,
gonna
guys,
it's gonna raise your sewer.
Jack, Rocco, with all due respect, is that their sewer rate is separate from our actual
Somebody's paying it.
property tax base. Our sewer rents, because they were not increased correctly back in 2016, they were adjusted but never legislated for. When we passed that previous ordinance to increase it, it did not match what was done without the ordinance back in 2016. So the mayor technically budgeted in 2016 for sewer rents and never accounted for them in the legislative form. So what we have to do is we have to correct what happened in 2016 based on our sewer rents in order to have that fixated rate that's budgeted for in our budget for sewer rates, which is totally separate from the actual property tax increase. So
Our
that
ta-
has,
our taxes are going up.
Jack, but-
And
why
so
don't-
we're gonna
so
call
we
a
have
our
public hearing
committee
on it.
meeting.
so we might even actually have to bring the previous mayor
Okay.
and then ask him why he was able to raise rents without having the legislation there.
If you feel you need to, go ahead.
Just let
If-
Stephanie speak and then
If
we're.
the council wants to have a committee meeting on it, that's not a problem, but I just want to clarify that the council did pass at the last council meeting to increase the rates. That was the goal. We just did not realize that the numbers that were initially used were incorrect.
We're aware of that.
So I just want to make it clear that the council unanimously passed to increase those rates. We just weren't aware that the number that we used and that the council voted on was the incorrect number. So that's the
We're-
error,
we're
that's the
aware of
error
that.
that we're trying to
Thank you,
fix.
thank you. Motion to adjourn?